That's Weird Bro, and I'm sure if you've been on the internet these last few days, you've probably heard about the controversial T app. It was basically an app that was used by women, and exclusively by women, to give information about men that they had dated previously. It was basically used as sort of like a Carfax, but for men. I can think of a couple of puns there, but roll with me. The app basically gave an anonymous platform for women in America to anonymously insult their previous partners, as well as potentially just falsely implicate them in crimes or various things that they didn't even do. And because the developers of the app were rejecting DMCA takedown notices, there was nothing that you could even do to get things taken off of it. In result, some anon on 4chan decided that he was going to hack the app, which turned out to not be very hard at all. Because, well, from what I could tell, given my experience in technology, it genuinely seems like the person that made the T app asked Grok 4 Heavy, or just some other advanced AI that knows about coding, "Hey Grok, program me an app in Electron that allows women to anonymously insult men that they know and create profiles of those men. Have the app have an onboarding feature that creates an anonymized profile that in fact gathers the information of the woman, including their face and their ID, in which a human will verify later." It is literally as simple as that in 2025 to create an app that will scam hundreds of thousands of women out of their information. And it is honestly sad. Like, this video is, for all intents and purposes, a PSA about cybersecurity in that way. The T app exposed a problem, and it is that people, whenever they give up their information to an online service, such as a dating app or anything like that, they're opening themselves up to a potential data breach, unintentionally even, on behalf of the company, that could lead them to something like this. While T posited themselves as someone that was an anonymity-centered app that allowed women to protect other women, and in fact did the opposite. And now we have seen a tirade of hate against all of the women that have been involved in this app, insulting their appearances, leaking their information, and who knows what people are going to do with their full IDs and like faces and things over the next few years. These women are definitely going to have a problem when it comes to, identity theft. They will definitely have fears of identity theft for the next few years, given what has now transpired. Somebody used the geolocation data of the website, as well as their addresses, to create a Google map of, like, where they live, which obviously I'm not going to be showing their faces or these maps or anything in this video. I'm just going to be talking about it because it is news, it is topical. Do not go out, do not harass these women, don't be the bad guys, don't step in the cow shit, come on. But this exposes something that is what should be a fear for many people, or at least something that people are aware of. Don't allow yourself to be paralyzed by fear of it, but at least be cognizant in your decision making. And that is what information you are willing to give up on websites on the internet. Now, Google seems to have a pretty good track record. The only likelihood that you're going to get doxxed through, like, Google is if somebody compromises your account through some other means, like they've already, they've felted your two-factor, or got directly into your email, or they're going through your account some other way. Or if they do, like, a YouTube copyright strike on you and you respond, and then they get your information that way. That's kind of the only ways you can be compromised on, like, YouTube / like Google platforms, outside of just straight up having your account stolen. But whenever you are willingly using a service that is as shady as, like, the T app, or maybe even some of the lower tier dating apps, you could potentially be opening yourself to a database breach in which you gave up your information to what you thought was a trusted company, only for that company to be compromised later due to their own poor internal security, either due to a lack of care on behalf of the internal developers, a lack of knowledge, or perhaps because their lead developer was just using Grok to program all of it. Sadly, in 2025, all of these things are equally as likely, and all of our data is perhaps at risk. So that's why I'm using this video as a platform to tell people, be cognizant as to what both you're putting on the internet, as well as what you're willing to give, even privately on the internet, to corporations, because you don't know when that type of thing could leak, especially if, like I said, it's a pretty shady type of company. But this leads directly into what happened in the United Kingdom recently and their ban on corn sites, I guess you could say. Trying not to get myself too screwed here. Basically, a lot of adult-themed sites now require you to prove your age by either giving, like, a video of your face or by sending a photo of your ID card to these websites for it to verify your age, and then your IP address will basically be flagged as, like, okay, like, there is an adult that lives here. This is dangerous for a multitude of reasons, and will ultimately only whenever Pornhub or Xvideos or any of these other sites end up getting their databases compromised. That's ultimately what's going to end up happening, is that a lot of people's faces and IDs are going to just be floating out in the wild, similar to what just happened with the T app, thanks to that hacker on 4chan. And the dumbest conversation I've seen about this entire thing is people on Twitter saying, like, oh, y'all will hack the T app within a week, but you won't hack the student debt. I'm sorry. The servers for the American government, one, tapping into them is definitely a federal crime. The T app stuff probably is too. But anyway, and they definitely have better security than the T app, which, as I said, from somebody like me that just has a cursory knowledge of like network security and things like that, like you know what I mean, taking a few classes here and there, it legitimately seems to me that the only way that this is possible is somebody used AI and they vibe coded an app basically that achieves this purpose instead of actually, you know, creating something like this themselves. And now this whole situation has bubbled over to the doxed information of these women that was stolen from these servers is now being used to ridicule them online, which, to one extent, I want to say is kind of deserved. Like this was a website that was only going to end up being used for doxing and harassment of potentially innocent men. Basically, just women, after their relationships had ended with men that they just no longer have feelings for, were going to inevitably use it as just a weapon to place false accusations upon men. And we'd already seen this happen within the few days that the app was even relevant, I guess, and being used. However, the reality of the situation is that most of the women that are being hurt by this, it's not going to just be the emotional pain of being put into like an online hot or not app where you're scored into like the top 50 hottest versus the top 50 ugliest women that was using T. That's not even going to be the worst of it. It is legitimately going to be fighting the fact that their information has been stolen for years after this, and people probably trying to like fake weddings with them. Like, can you imagine how many people are going to be trying to immigrate to the United States and then pretend that they're like having an online relationship and about to get married to these women? Like that's going to be the new immigration strategy, illegally at least. But I understand the internet's willingness to say "I told you so" to these women and sort of to talk about the comeuppance that is coming. But at the same time, there is a level of inequivalence here, but that should serve as a warning. Don't allow yourself to engage in these types of platforms. Don't allow yourself to engage in this type of like online harassment against someone that truly does not deserve it. Keep yourself in check, and the world will likely keep you in check. As karma is, as karma does. And if you're somebody that is worried about data breaches, somebody that is wanting to hold on to your ID and your pictures of your face regardless of what Pornhub wants you to do, make sure you hit like, you subscribe, and you stay tuned for more videos. It's kind of a just something that was recently in the news that everybody's been talking about. I know everybody's been kind of giving the take of like, well, the girls had it coming, but it's like, it is larger than that. Like yeah, they were obviously like showing a low moral character, but at the same time, you cannot say that somebody deserves to have their information permanently out there. Like somebody being doxxed is genuinely terrible. I hate for that to happen to anyone. There is a difference between the equivalent amount of action that happens to someone after they do a bad thing versus too much action. And I would say that what is now going to happen to the women that use the T app, I would say, is an overstepping. But it should serve as a warning to all of us to stay away from these types of things. I don't think that a male equivalent of this about women would be a good alternative either. If a man dropped an app called Body Count where you could anonymously talk about women, I don't think that would be good for our culture or for the world either. It would just spout more, mindless sexism, and that's not going to solve any sort of actual conversations about the disparagement between men and women, the disconnect happening within our culture. But that's an aside. If you like this video, make sure that you like, comment, subscribe. I've got more stuff on the way. Kind of been a light drama weekend, thankfully for once. But I hope you guys enjoyed this one, and make sure that you keep yourself safe online.